Hey, people of Facebook and YouTube. This is Richard Chancy, and I have got a special announcement, I guess, for you. I am going to start doing live streaming a lot more regularly. I would say, go ahead and say every day, but it'll be almost every day, maybe not on the weekends and maybe not every day. So let me tell you why I'm doing that. I run a digital products publishing company. It's my own company where I partner with other people to build and sell digital resources. And we're right in the middle of a grind right now trying to get a new resource launched and published and put out there in the world around building virtual teams. And I'll be talking more about that as we go. But this gives me the chance, this live streaming gives me the chance to do something that is missing from my business, something that's really big that's missing from my business. And I have become aware of it over the last few months and realized that this was something that used to be a part of my daily life, but now I don't get to do it that much. And so I'm going to leverage live streaming to be able to do that. And the thing that's missing is human interaction, live interaction with people. Are we going to be sitting in the same room together? Probably not. But what I want to do with this tool of live streaming to Facebook and to YouTube, is to be able to add value to you almost every day. And hopefully we can learn something together. What this is going to do for me is it's going to hold me accountable to getting on and sharing something of value with you. Now, you may not be interested in building a business or whatever it is, but I'll promise you something along the lines of what I'm learning or what I have learned will be useful to you, even if you work for somebody else, because we're going to talk a lot about automation, which is doing the hard work to do something once and then never having to do it again, where that's email or setting up webinars or creating a part of your sales funnel that's automated. We're going to talk a lot about that. And hopefully what comes out of that is I get your questions and I can leverage those questions to train and teach other people and maybe learn some new things. If I have a superpower, it's beating my head against the wall until I learn something new and figure something out. And that is, I would say that's the primary reason that I have been successful in building this online business. And so I want to leverage this online platform and this ability for us to connect no matter where we are in the world to be able to do just that. What I will do is show up with a little bit of content that's ready to go. And then I'm going to lean on you as a viewer to be able to submit questions. And obviously you can do that in the comments below on YouTube and Facebook, or you can email me at support@richardchancy.com. And I'm like 99% sure that we have that email address. If we don't, we'll have it by the time that this thing really gets up and running and anybody's watching these videos. So you can just email me at support@richardchancy.com and I'll answer your question in one of a couple of ways. I might shoot a video specifically outlining your question, which would be awesome, where it's just me maybe answering your question, or we can bring you on. I can bring you on and we can do a live stream together or shoot a video together, and then we can live stream it later. So we can edit it a little bit if we need to and answer your question live. And I think what that's going to do is it's going to help us build community around this idea of starting and growing our own businesses and really living the life that you want. So let me back up right now for most of you, because I'm brand new at the live stream thing. I am the engine behind the businesses that I run. And what that means is I go out and I find subject matter experts, and then I use my expertise, which is building digital products, building online platforms, Facebook, and then I drive people into those systems, into those digital products using what I know how to do. But for most of us, or for me, that means I'm behind the scenes most of the time, not out here in front like what I'm doing right now. So you have no idea who I am unless you're friends or we went to high school together, or you're my mom or my cousin who I just noticed watched my last video. So that doesn't matter really. What you need to know is just a few things about me. I don't know everything. What I am is a researcher. I will find the way to do something new. I will research, and then I will try to filter and find the most efficient and effective way to do that thing without doing a lot of extracurricular activities to kind of get to the goal. So let me give you the rundown of kind of the categories that I'm going to be talking to you about. I put them under here as hacks, tricks, tips, and traps in the following areas. And traps is what I'm talking about when you overcomplicate things. So SEO, I started building my email list with SEO, or search engine optimization, about 6 or 7 years ago. I was doing high-end church construction consulting. which means people had to spend $2 to $5 million, $10 million with us to be qualified as a prospect for us. Well, pretty quickly after I got that job, I realized I was going to starve to death if I didn't figure out how to generate leads, and simply picking up the phone and cold calling people was not going to work. The economy was down. Very few churches were building, and there were just way too many of them to just do that, throw a dart at the wall and see if it hits the bullseye thing. So I made myself a subject matter expert in that area. I was not, but I interviewed people. And then every time I learned something, I wrote a blog post about it. I ultimately put all of that information into a book and started giving it away. I gave away that book in about 6 months. I gave it away 1,700 times to people that are in the church world, that are pastors, that are interested in building a building. That is a niche of a niche of a niche, in case you're counting. So if I can do it there, I promise you, you can do it in whatever industry that you're working in. So I learned a little bit about SEO. And as soon as I learned about paid marketing, I tried to forget everything I knew about SEO. I'm just in the last year coming back and realizing, hey, we can leverage a lot of the content that we're publishing, content like this video, where we can make that video into searchable content online. And we're going to talk a lot about that and how we're doing SEO, but we're not doing SEO as a primary strategy. It's more of a secondary strategy. It's the gravy that we're looking for. And the reason for that simply is you can't turn SEO on and off. And Google makes about 500 changes to their algorithm every year. That means they made 1.5 today. Okay. And that's really hard to keep up with. There are some predictable methods that you can use on SEO that work. But if you're going to go out and try to really build a business around this, we want to combine SEO with some paid marketing strategies, which is brings me to our next point. I'm going to jump around here on my notes. So the next point is, over the last couple of years, I've spent $135,000 of my money, not somebody else's money that came into my business, and I spent on marketing $135,000 on paid Facebook ads. And I don't know if I'm an expert in Facebook marketing. I tend to think that I am not, because Facebook changes their user interface almost every day. And I haven't been in it today. So I feel like if I go in there, I'm going to feel like a novice. And we do pay people. We've got a paid company that's helping us do some Facebook marketing in one of these digital products as well right now. And so, but I think it's really important that you know these platforms before you sub things out to other people. And that way it makes you a better leader, number one. But number two, you know, if you're getting what you're paying for and what the metrics should be. So I've got a little bit of know-how in that area, a little bit of know-how in SEO. The other thing is I've been certified in Infusionsoft, which is an email marketing platform that generates automation. If you don't know what automation is, it is the most powerful force in the business universe, being able to set things up, set up email sequences, set up webinars, set up a digital product or your solution. One of our membership sites is built on Customer Hub, which is a membership site solution that Infusionsoft owns. And just so you know, I've not been in, we created that content some time ago. I don't spend any time in that membership site. And here's what you should take from that. You can actually build a service, build a training that you give to people. And once you build it, you're done with it. Now, if you've been consulting for a while, let me just tell you what that means for you. Every day as a consultant, I woke up and I had 2 full-time jobs, a full-time sales job and a full-time consulting job. And if I was good at the selling, I got to do some consulting, but it didn't matter if I was a great consultant if I didn't sell. Well, in this business, I literally sell stuff and I don't have to perform on the back end. My income is not limited by my ability to consult with 1 or 2 or 3 clients at the time. Another area I've got quite a bit of expertise in is building and running webinars. Now, there's really 2 sides to a webinar. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a training like this that you either do in a live format or you shoot it, record it, edit it, put an offer in there, and then you launch it and you let it run in an automated fashion. The 2 sides of it are the ability to actually put together a compelling training, right? And then the other side of it is the technology that goes along with it. It's one thing if you can do a presentation, but can you launch the thing? And we're going to talk about that some in here. We've got products that kind of cover off some of that stuff. And I'm really trying to figure out how to engage with you in some of this training. Some of the trainings that we've put together on this, we've not launched because we're busy launching things for our customers. So with good feedback, we'll get you some good training, and probably some of you will wind up being beta partners with us on this stuff, which means we'll give it to you at a dramatically reduced rate so that we can get feedback and create some community and really make sure that what we're putting out there for you is going to be a 10x solution, meaning if you spend $100, it's going to be worth 1,000 or more, which won't be hard. So the other part of webinars is the automated part of it. So the two parts that I meant to say there was the one part is shooting a webinar. The second part is actually being able to host and launch a webinar. One of the big things that we have learned how to do in this industry is run automated webinars. We do some live stuff, but most of our sales are coming through automated webinars. We just finished our 13th webinar. We have, it's not launched and running yet, but we have 12 webinars that run twice a day, Monday through Thursday, in one of my businesses. And that means that we just rotate the Facebook ads that go from Facebook to a webinar opt-in. And just so you know, a few years ago, I read the book called The One Thing. If you haven't read it, you need to get it. The one thing, the bottom line of the book is this: what's the one thing such being done makes everything else either easier or unnecessary? And yes, I memorized that because it's a question I constantly ask myself. What's the one thing such being done makes everything else either easier or unnecessary? Well, that one thing for my business is running a Facebook ad to a webinar opt-in page. If we do that well, then everything else is either easier, it is dramatically easier, or it's unnecessary. Now, in those webinars, we're doing some high quality training. In fact, we know that we sell about 12 to 15% of people that show up for a webinar. So that means 85 to 88% of the people that show up for one of our webinars are not buying our product. That means that we need to make sure that they feel good about who we are when they get off, because what happens inevitably with most people's webinars is it's just a pitch fest. They pitch you in the beginning and then they leak the value proposition all through their training. Well, that's why we do this in product XYZ. And, that's one of the things that you'll discover in XYZ. They're doing that all the way through the training, and that's terrible form. In my mind, when you're teaching, there should be content that people are going, I can't believe they're giving this away. And then when you're making an offer, people should know that they're being sold something. There's two different sides of that coin. And one of the things you'll hear me talk about a lot is I make no apologies for selling, because I think selling changes lives. I think people that get stuff for free products and services and consulting do not change lives, because people aren't being asked to put skin in the game. In fact, you could take a product that you sell for $500 and sell it for $5,000, and I'll guarantee you the person that paid $5,000 is going to get radically different life experience with your offering than the person that paid $500, because they have to, right? They've made it a bigger decision. They've gotten engaged in a different way. Same content, but they go in thinking, I'm going to turn this thing into a miracle for me and my business. Building membership sites. If you don't know what that is, it's basically taking something that you know how to do and drilling down and helping people get over the sticky parts of learning how to do that thing. I always tell people, everybody's got a training in them. Every single person watching this video has something inside them that they can teach somebody else to do. We've got a method for teaching you how to do that. And basically it's simply this: you go out and think back to the skills that you have, the markets that you have experience in, and then you start putting together solutions. And I always coach people to do this. Go out and find people who are the 1.0 version of your 2.0 self, meaning find people that are where you were that want to get where you are. Those are always going to be the easiest people for you to add value to, because you know the answers to most of their questions. Now, what building a digital product or a membership site is going to do for you is it's going to make you remember how you got there, because most of us, we're unconsciously competent. That means we know how to put together a webinar, and I don't really think about all the little details, about how you make an offer in a webinar or how you structure the webinar. We've got templates for all that now. And so you just basically forget what other people don't know, but you're just doing it. Okay. So that's one of the things about building a membership site is it's going to take you back into a version of yourself that remembers how you got where you are, which is going to be huge for you, because you may find some more efficiencies in that process. And number two, it allows you to communicate well. So everybody has got a membership site in them. Now, you may sell a traditional product or a traditional service. Let me just tell you this, a digital product business, a healthy one, should run somewhere between 50 and 70% profit. Now, that's after you pay yourself. Okay, so think about that for a minute. If you've got a digital product business that does $1 million in a year and you're paying yourself $80,000, $90,000, $100,000, and you're still running a $400,000 to $500,000 profit, That's a pretty good business. In fact, a traditional business to get that much profit would probably have to be about 4 to 5 times the size. So they'd have to do $4 or $5 million to make the same amount of profit that you're making on your $1 million business. So not when people talk about how much revenue their company's doing, that really is not a very good metric, because you can be doing $20 million and not be making any money. You and I both know that. We've seen it happen a million times. We're also going to talk about virtual teams. We're going to talk a lot about virtual teams. Most of us, when we get stuck, it's because we're trying to do everything ourselves, and we just don't have a good enough network of people to be able to bring people in to help us. And the traditional methodology for teams was, when you're ready, you go out and you hire that person full-time, and you got to pay them a full-time salary plus benefits, which means that person costs you somewhere between 120 and 150% of their salary. So a $40,000 employee might cost you $48,000 to $60,000. Okay, well, if you don't know what virtual assistants are, virtual team members, if you do not know that, you definitely need to subscribe. If you're on YouTube, click the button, subscribe, hit the little bell, and every time I come on, you'll get a message. If you're on Facebook, I think you just have to like the page and it'll notify you when I'm live. There may be another way to do that on Facebook too. We'll figure this stuff out as we go. But go ahead and do that. We're going to talk a ton about virtual teams, about how you can go out and basically rent a part of somebody's time that has the expertise that you're looking for, and you can build your team in silos. And what that means is you might have one general virtual assistant. I do. Her name's Jessica, and she rocks like nobody's business. She's been with me 3 years. I've never been in the same room with her. I have another guy named Rommel, who's a super technical, very specific set of skills around Infusionsoft and WordPress and all that stuff that I use for technical things. And then we've got about 6 or 7 other freelancers that we use bits and pieces of their time and expertise, copywriters, graphic design people that can build different platforms and those kind of things. But we rent the part of those people's time that we need. It's a completely different economic environment and culture that's going on right now, and we're just scraping the front edge of it. And I've partnered with a company called Belay at belaysolutions.com, which is one of the largest virtual assistant companies in the world, to build digital products around this, because what we're finding is delegating, being able to delegate, having the people to delegate to, that's one of the biggest problems that keeps people stuck. So they can grow their business to maybe $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in a year, but they just keep bumping up, kind of porpoising in that number. Some years they'll do 500, some years they'll do 450, some years they'll do 550, but they really can't just break through. And the biggest problem is they don't have people to hand stuff off to. And just from a practical standpoint, that keeps you in the doer stage of your business, meaning you do everything. If you do everything and you have a hard time handing things off, make sure you stay tuned, because we're going to talk about that a lot. I actually am super guilty of that. I know how to do stuff, and so I do stuff. And if you're not careful, you develop so much technical expertise around your business that it does make it harder to hand things off. And we're going to solve some of that problem in showing you how to hand things off and use video and do those kind of things. So what I'm going to do, and I don't know if I've been super clear about this, I'm going to jump on here every day and just talk about what I'm going to do that day and what I did yesterday. And I'm going to show you examples of how we're building these products, how we're launching things, what I'm learning. And I'm just going to use this live streaming as a way to do that. And I hope that you find that encouraging and super helpful. And when you have questions, I hope that you'll reach out and ask those questions. So now some of you may be thinking, and I always forget that everybody doesn't know me. You don't know me, and you don't know what my motivations are and what I'm after. And down the road, we'll probably try to sell you something at some point. But more than anything, I want to make sure that every day I'm waking up and I'm doing what I feel like I was created to do, to ignite passion in people and to help people live with passion. And that simply means knowing what you're put on this earth to do and waking up every day and chipping away at living that life. And for me, it was igniting passion in people. And I'm sure that God created me to do that. And I hope that I'll be able to do that with you. So as I part with you here today and I finish this up, and I totally didn't mean for this to go 20 minutes, but it has. Here's 2 ways you can connect with me. Go ahead and make a comment on Facebook or YouTube. And I will do my dead level best to answer that question. And if I don't know the answer, I will do my best to go out and find somebody that can help us have that answer. Email me at support@RichardChancy if you've got a very specific question that you want to ask. Sorry about that. Hey, I'll stutter. I'm not going to edit these things. This is us live here together, doing life together, figuring out how to run these businesses. email me at support@richardchancy. There's no E in my last name, but I do have both URLs. If you have a funny spelling of your last name, it makes sense to just buy the domain for the funny spelling of it. So support@richardchancy.com, or you can comment here. Stay tuned. We're going to be throwing more free stuff at you, free training, as well as some resources that I think will help you get through some of the sticky parts of doing this. And then the last thing I want to tell you is this. If you have done this before and you found it ridiculously difficult, that is the way that it is. If it's not hard, you're doing it wrong, right? If this thing is fun and it's fun from day one until day 1001, you're doing it wrong. I know you're going to listen to a podcast tomorrow and the guy's going to talk about how he built his business in 3 easy steps. He doesn't tell you that step number 1 was getting punched in the throat repeatedly and not knowing what you're doing. And when your spouse asks about it, you can't say anything because you don't know anything. Okay. I know, I've been there. I'll be there again as we're launching new things, launching the product that we're building right now that's called Delegate and Grow. Everything pushes against you. It keeps you from wanting to move forward. In fact, one of the things I put in here in my notes that I didn't talk about was one of the ways that I keep from launching is I involve a ridiculous amount of unneeded complexity in things. That's what I do. Instead of launching, I go, well, if I can just figure out how to make this work on this platform instead of the platforms that we're currently using. I get it. I've been there. I've stalled for every reason in the book. If I can help you get over that hump, make a comment or shoot me an email. Otherwise, I'll catch you tomorrow. Thanks for being with me. Thanks for hanging in and watching the video. And double thanks if you have a question or a comment that I can help you with. Thanks a lot.